G'day guys, you're back with Miracle Max. Look, we're heading into the winter and no one likes to get out of bed in the mornings. Well, most people don't. This Holden Jackaroo that I'm sitting in right now is no exception. It's been struggling to start in the mornings. It's a 1999 Holden Jackaroo with a V6, I think it's a 3.5 litre in it, and it is struggling to start. So, is it a battery, starter, a voltage drop? Who knows? Let's check it out and see what it's like. Firstly, let's see how it starts, because it's been sitting outside the workshop overnight and this is the first start for the morning. Here we go. Hopefully it starts, hey. Oh, come on fella. Ooh, I'm glad it started. Saves me pushing it in the workshop, hey. Anyway, we'll hook it up to the Pico oscilloscope and see what it's doing. Just hooked up my little, what's this, OBDII battery tester, just to do a quick test for starters, and our cold cranking amps is rated at 540. Now if you have a look here, I don't know if you guys can see it, let me zoom in there. So as you can see, it's down to 10.62 volts. Man, that's no good. I'm just going to go ahead with the test anyway. It's going to say that it needs a replacement, but it'll be interesting to see what we find. So we just zip through here, bit more zippage. In vehicle, before charge, regular flooded, SAE, correct, and we'll get that rating down to, what is it, 540. Whoops, missed it, Max. Let's press the go button and see what she does. It's going to say that it's knackered, I'm sure of it. Retest, charge, 63 in health. State of charge, 0. Well, that is interesting there, isn't it? It's saying state of health is 63, so it doesn't mean that the battery's knackered, although the internal resistance is pretty high. So, does it have a charging issue perhaps? We're down to 10.62 volts though, of course, that's no good. We're only getting 245 amps out of the thing that's designed for 540. It's not happy. I decided to start it and see how it goes, and you can see that it's up to 14.3 volts, so really that gives the impression that the charging system is okay. Of course that's not a guarantee. Just for giggles I might hook up my Pico scope and see what that tells me at this point in time. So I've set up my criteria, 12 volts, lead acid, temperature about 20 degrees, not quite that at the moment though, and 540 as our cold cranking amperage. Let's hit the start key, or the start button first. And we can start it and see what it says. It'll tell us to start, of course. Please start the engine. Sure, I'll do that. All right, let's just analyse that. It says, ooh, it got down, stated charge is 100%. That's different to what our other fella said, wasn't it? Initial voltage was 13 volts. I did let it run for a short period of time, but it does say replace. It's only got 45% of the required cold cranking amps. Lowest voltage it got down to 6 volts. That's well below the, what is it, 9.6 that it should have, I believe. So that's not overly healthy. We are up for a battery. I could have got the wrong end of the stick by looking at my other little meter, so it's good to have this one here. The customer did think that the battery was not very healthy. Let's have a look at our charging circuit. Charging at 100%. As I said, it got up to about 14.3. I was happy with that. Starter motor resistance is 12.7 milliohms, little baby ohms, and it's happy with that. So it just looks like it's a simple battery replacement. Though there is a little bit high in our ripple there. That is interesting, 940 millivolts in ripple. That'd be AC ripple. So we might have to investigate that further, but I do believe that we need another battery before we go any further. So I'll print that out for the customer, and that's evidence that the test has been done and the reasoning behind the battery replacement. Not a sponsor, but I've got myself a supercharged battery to suit this particular vehicle. I'll show you a few tricks about fitting the battery to the vehicle, particularly with an OBDII connector. I've just bought a new tool that should make that job easier. Just keep in mind if you disconnect the battery and you don't have power continually going to it, you may lose radio codes, the ECU may go back to a base setting. There's a few other disadvantages of taking power off your battery. But if we pull the leads off the battery, how do we have power going to the battery? Well, I'll show you. Check this out. In this particular model, the OBDII connector is hidden away in the center console. That little wiring loom, I'll pop that out and show you. Come on, fella. There we go. All right, so that there is your OBDII connector. You're saying to yourself, well, hang on a sec. I'm doing the battery, not a scan. That's where I bought this particular tool. Now, I think I got it off of eBay. I reckon it was about $16, something along those lines. The beauty is you've got an OBDII connector there. Now, why is that important? Well, the OBDII connector, pin number 16, if I remember correctly, is a positive at all times. Therefore, if we feed power into this bloke at pin 16, then we can in fact make sure that the whole system is powered. And the beauty about this fella is that it's got a voltmeter in it as well. And what I do is, hang on, I just hook up my faithful little batteries that I have floating around. They are unlimited power supply batteries, and they're still in good nick. And I can prove that. Oh, another thing, this guy's got a fuse in it, so that's brilliant, you know, protection there. And I've just cut the ends off it, and I just hook that onto there. Doobie-doobie-doo. Get in frame there, Max. And hook him up like that. So the beauty about this fella here is it has two features. The voltage feature, and then when this little light comes on here, it is current. So if I pop this into my OBDII connector, that fella there, get in frame, and then I will be powering the whole circuit by my little battery. So simply grab that fella there, plonk him in, and I've now powered my system. It's down to 11.5. You guys probably can't see it, and it's got some current being drawn at this particular point in time. So 11.5 is our voltage, because obviously the battery is drawing a fair bit of current, and of course I've got the door open, etc, etc. And then 1.5 amps is being drawn. Like I said, the door is open. That's probably the reason for it. So yeah, it's a good little tool. I'm pretty impressed with it, and I'll leave that powered up while I change over the battery, so I don't lose any radio codes or system memory by disconnecting the voltage from the battery. The rest of the process is not too bad. All we have to do is undo our bracket here, and of course our two leads here and here. What will we find when we disconnect these two leads here and measure voltage? Well, we should actually find that there is voltage there even though we've disconnected this battery. Keep in mind we're powering it up via the OBDII connector. Let's pop this fella out. Now, in theory, you're meant to remove the negative terminal first and put it on last. The reason being is if I accidentally short this out against something, let's say we short it against there, it doesn't matter because it's just the negative side of the battery. However, if I'm on this guy here and disconnect it and hit against the body somewhere, Big Bang Theory, no good. So we always start with the negative side of our battery first. Pull him off there and get this bloke off over here. We'll get that completely off first. There we go. Just got a secondary nut on there with, looks like a circuit breaker of some description. So I'll have to be careful about that because that's probably still powered. Now, just get that off there and we'll wrap them in rags. I'll show you what I mean first by having power at the battery when it's disconnected. All right, let's have a look. So you can see over here and here I've got the battery disconnected, but I've just got my multimeter hooked onto the leads there, and you can clearly see that we have voltage here. So I need to wrap those leads in rags or something like that to make sure that they're not going to get shorted out. But of course the beauty is that I haven't lost my voltage to the system. Any memory or anything like that is still retained. To clean the battery terminals you can use one of these tools, they're quite good. This here is designed for the battery post, not that we have to worry about this fella here. In theory you're meant to go only one way. If you go backwards you can actually damage the brush, nice and shiny. And then this fella here is designed for the terminal cable itself, so you can clean that out. Just a wire brushy type thing, but you can go roundy type stuff, which is very, very helpful. And you end up with a nice clean terminal there. So I'll put that to one side. Keep in mind that that red one is still powered, so I do need to be careful with that. So I'll put a rag there just in case, but I'm going to clean up that terminal too. And that in turn is nice and clean. You can see it. All right, let's change batteries. But I'll wrap this fella in the rag before I do anything else. Okay, I can put that out the road now, confident that it won't short out against anything. There we go. Battery change. That should fit in there like that. Handle down. That goes there, that goes there. I might put my bracket on first. Like that. Wiggle, wiggle, and make sure that the little magic eye, or whatever you want to call it, the hydrometer, is exposed. It's not covered by this, because you want to be able to see that, don't you? Time to tighten those fellas up, making sure that I'm happy with everything. Remember what I said, which one goes on last? The negative goes on last. So therefore this positive fella that we've wrapped up in the rag needs to go on first. So we'll unwrap him like a little prezi, put him on there, nice and tight all the way down the bottom. We can tighten that up and then put on our little circuit breaker. I suppose that might be for, no, it doesn't have spotlights. Not sure what they've got that on there for, but we need to put that back on, of course. Battery terminal is nice and tight. This fella goes on next. And of course if this battery voltage is higher than what my little battery is, that OBDII connector voltmeter should read the voltage of this battery here, the higher voltage of course. That's in place, that's nice and tight. Let's do our negative. No sparkages, well that's always good. Tighten him up there. Very, very good. Although it's a little bit messy, I do like to use the battery terminal protection stuff. It just puts a nice layer on there to stop corrosion, etc. So all we do is, I've actually made up a little bit of cardboard there, so I can, you know, instead of spraying it all over the battery, I can just do it like that. So I just stick him in behind there and spray it accordingly. Ooh, have the thing spray in the right direction there, Max. Duh. It's not perfect, but it's better than making a huge mess all over the battery at least, hey. So negative side done, positive side is next. Give it a little bit of time to dry and it should be honky-dory. Okay, let's go inside and see what that voltmeter reads. We're now back inside and we can have a look at that voltage that I mentioned to you. We now are connected to the new battery and we have, drum roll, come on fella, 12.4, so that's higher than what we had before. That's the new battery voltage. So I can quite confidently disconnect this and know that everything is still powered by a power source, i.e. the new battery. I've still got the old waveform up on the oscilloscope, so we can see that it's failed. Initial voltage was 13.1. It went down to a voltage, lowest voltage was 6 volts, that's no good. And it says replace. So what's our new one like? Let's double check that. Let's make a start situation, hey? So the settings will be the same. This one's actually a 530 cold cranking amp, so we'll just make that adjustment. There we go. So we've got all the analysis set up. All we have to do is hit start. Find the keys for the vehicle, of course. Please start the engine. OT. Sounds better. How does that compare? Well look, the initial voltage is even lower than it was before, It says that it needs to be recharged. Now, it's not unusual to see that on a battery that's been sitting in a shop for a little while. But have a look at our capacity, 561. Very nice, thank you very much. Capacity is 100% at 530. Battery is good but needs to be recharged. Let's have a look at our starting and charging circuit just to double check our work. We scroll down, we see that charging and that ripple has dropped right down as well. So that's good news. Starter motor resistance 12.2, I think that's what it was before. I'm going to print this out. I've printed out the other one for the customer already. I'm going to print this one out as well so that they have a record of the new battery. Of course, I'll stick the new battery on charge while I complete the service as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Pico. So this is called Pico Diagnostics. It's separate from the Pico Oscilloscope 7 that I've been using. It's a separate program. Over on the left-hand side, we have battery test, compression test, cylinder balance, NVH, noise, vibration and harshness, and down the bottom there, around about there somewhere, is propeller shaft balancing. Okay, so it's really, really good. It's got some good features. I'm using this a lot with the battery side of things to print and show the customers. Well, that's that side of things done. I've still got the service to complete, but you're probably thinking to yourself, why go to all this effort just to replace a battery? Well, firstly, it gives me all the information that I need to state with confidence that the battery needs to be replaced. And of course, we can see that the charging system was okay, starter motor resistance was okay as well. It doesn't give all the red and green dots down the side here for the customer. They don't know, they don't care. But the important thing is it has been replaced now, and here's the evidence to prove that it's in good condition. We have 12.3 volts. Yes, it should be about 12.6, but as it says, it needs to be charged. I'm not surprised about that. It doesn't particularly bother me because I know that the battery's been sitting in a shop for, I don't know, maybe a week. It's going to drain away naturally, but it is in good condition, 100%. Our maximum current is 667 amps, so that's way above our 530 that we require. So the customer should be happy with this. As I mentioned, I'm going to stick it on charge while I complete the service, and then the customer can take it at the end of the day, fully confident that the battery won't let them down again. They won't have starting issues. You heard how quickly it started as soon as the new battery was fitted. So I feel confident to hand this back to the customer with all the evidence that they need. These are their copies. They have paid for them and they can do whatever they like with them, but I've also got a record for myself so that I can check them in the future. And just to finish off, I've put a current clamp around the battery. I could have done it with the oscilloscope, but I forgot, so this is an afterthought. Put a current clamp around the battery, make sure there's no parasitic drain. What have we got there? 26 milliamps, happy with that. Maximum should be about 50 milliamps, something along those lines, but that looks pretty good. 0.26, happy, happy, happy. So yes, the battery was faulty, doesn't look like there's any parasitic drain. I've had it on charge during the rest of the service, and as you can see, it didn't take too long to reach its full capacity. So it's all good, ready for the customer to pick up. By using the Pico Diagnostics software, it's so much easier than trying to sort through whether there is a hard starting issue or not. I was able to isolate it at the battery straight away. There was no voltage drop to the starter. There was no high current draw at the starter. The alternator is working correctly. The charging system is working correctly as well. So it makes it so much easier to move ahead with confidence saying, hey, your battery needs replacement. Even though this video was a basic one, guys, I hope you got something out of it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like. Feel free to comment down below. Of course, don't forget about that notification bell. You don't want to miss any future videos, do you? Of course not. I've got to finish this service. So until next time, guys, this is Miracle Max signing off. I will catch you later.